Hello and welcome to Portland Art Gallery's first Thursday for June of 2021. My name is Emma Wilson. I'm the director here and delighted that you could join us. This is an historic first for the Portland Art Gallery as we're hosting both an in-person and a virtual opening. So here in Maine, restrictions were lifted on May 24th, and if the traffic on 95 is any indication over Memorial Day weekend, people are on the move. Our vaccination rates are high in Maine, so let's push that number even higher and embrace the summer months with lots of energy for dancing and gathering and hugging and visiting art galleries. So a few thank yous. Thank you to our clients who continue to stay in touch. It's been such a pleasure, it's been such a joy to see more of you in person here at the gallery space, and also to stay connected with those of you around the country. Thank you to our amazing Portland Art Gallery artists in our community. We're just so grateful to work with all of you. So this month we have 4 feature artists: Julia Blake, Paula Stern, Stu Henderson, and Carlos Gamez de Francisco. A phenomenal lineup to kick off our first in-person opening and virtual. So let's get started. And now it's my pleasure to introduce artist Julia Blake. Julia has the drive and temperament to be a full-time artist and a mother of 6 children. Her remarkable use of vivid colors, high contrast, and bold strokes are used across the many styles, including abstract to the figure. Please join me in welcoming artist Julia Blake.
My name is Julia Blake, and I'm an artist based out of Boston. I'm thrilled to be represented by the Portland Art Gallery and to be showing here this month. For the past 16 months or so, I've really been painting what's been going on in the world in a way that helps me process and understand connection. I have thought a lot about how things that happen in one place can impact another place, whether that's things that happen in our own past or things that happen on the other side of the world. My art has always been about the things that matter to me. It's always been a symbol of things that I've experienced and things I've learned. Over the past few months, I have had to change how I'm connected to my world and to the people I love. And I've thought a lot about how we treat each other and the planet, and that comes through in this work. I love mixing color. That's one of my favorite parts of being an artist. I love what happens when you add opposites in color, also known as complementary colors. I love how it makes the color richer. When you have a little bit of every color in your color, it's more pleasant to look at, more enjoyable. That's a big part of my art, both symbolically and aesthetically. I am so happy to live in this area and be able to experience the beauty of the culture, the people, and nature. And that's what I'm trying to represent with the work that I'm showing here this month.
Thank you, Julia. And now I'd like to introduce sculptor Paula Stern. When viewing Paula's works, you're immediately drawn into her deep appreciation of the human figure and form, both its structure, but also its movement and capacity for movement. She's inspired by the beauty and complexity of the human body and creates portraits of both adults and children. Paula has many recognitions and awards. She's been recognized with the People's Choice Award by the Washington Project for the Arts Corcoran for her Bronze Attitude Female, which is on view in this show, so come see it. The same piece also captured first prize at the juried All Media Art League membership show at the Torpedo Factory in Alexandria. Paula's received many commissions to do a portrait bust from prominent business leaders to journalists to attorneys and government officials, including a U.S. federal court judge, Nelson Mandela, and President Bill Clinton. It is my pleasure to introduce artist Paula Stern.
Hi, I'm Paula Stern, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my sculptures. At first, when I started showing my three-dimensional artwork, in the public, I felt, well, if I need to explain my sculptures, then I have failed as a sculptor. They ought to speak for themselves. But speaking of speaking, I do think the body expresses itself and has its own body language. And I try in my artwork to take that clay that's basically just mud and water and shape something into a three-dimensional creation which has an expression, which reflects an attitude or a feeling of emotion, and that's exemplified in some of these pieces that are to my right and left. Actually, I call this one Attitude Female. And she is really relaxing into her weight. And it's, I think, a reflection of the fact that I was a ballerina, dance classes and dance work from the time I was a child. And I think it also reflects, frankly, that I am a female and that I can pick up those almost intangible expressions and then make them tangible, hopefully, in what you're seeing. As you know, most sculptors were male, but and I do stand on the shoulders, as it were, famous classical Greek sculptors, as well as Rodin, who inspired me thanks to the books that my parents had in their library, that I could look at the pictures of Rodin that were in black and white in those days. But that I was coming at it in my own personal way as a female, as a dancer, and expressing something which hopefully, once you move around in this three-dimensional way and look at every angle from top to bottom, from underneath, from below, and from above, that it starts talking to you. I mean, that's what I call body language. And it's exemplified, I think, even again in a restful mode in which Bianca is sitting here. And it is something which I hope to leave to others, to enjoy, to bring pleasure to them, and to recognize that it is an artistic expression to bring beauty as I interpret it through my own eyes, using my own fingers, working with that muddy clay, and ultimately that will bring pleasure to others. It's an homage also, I think, to my family, that they gave me these opportunities to go to art school as a young child and to go to ballet, and to respect history and to try to leave a legacy of some importance that is creative to those after me. And I really also feel it's important from my heart to express my gratitude also to those who love art and who encourage artists like myself. And I'm thinking in particular of everyone here at the Portland Art Gallery, Emma Wilson, Missy Dunaway, and also all the creative work that goes into making this magnificent space of art such a magnet for those who care about art and the ability to express what they see with their eyes and then to give with their hands. So I thank you very much, Missy and everyone here at the Portland Art Gallery for this extraordinary opportunity.
And now I'd like to introduce artist Stu Henderson. After an esteemed career as a preparator at the Colby Museum in Waterville, where numerous exciting things have been happening over the past 5 years, Stu returned to being a full-time artist. Early influences from members of the Bauhaus gang, Stu describes his approach to making art as being guided by an inherent curiosity and experimentation. Therein lies the wonder when engaging with his pieces. This exhibition includes exquisitely executed freeform works and capturing the hearts and imaginations of our visitors already. Please join me in welcoming artist Stu Henderson.
Hi, my name is Stu Henderson, and I'm an artist from Northport, Maine. I got into making art at a young age, and I think just by virtue of being very curious. We had a lot of art in our family and creative people in our family, so there was always support for any energy put in that direction. I learned early on that making art is something that I wanted to do, but I'm not sure I thought of it as making art when I was young. I think it was just trying to make things and a little differently. So over time, as I went through art school, I started off with very classical training with drawing and painting, and then moved on to a school that was very heavily in the mid-70s, into conceptual art. So I kind of had this balance of these certain skills mixed with a way of thinking about things a little differently and how to present things a little differently. After art schools, I did a couple of apprenticeships, one with a sculptor in the Berkshire Mountains. We worked on a project he had of a large figure working with metal. And after that, I moved on to New Orleans to work with Lynn Emery, who's a kinetic sculptor. And I worked in her shop, also with metal, making these gigantic moving sculptures, kinetic sculptures. They either move by magnetism, water, or wind. And I think what impressed me most with working with these professional artists was, you know, the way they worked, the way they scheduled their time, the way that they just went for it. They had an idea and they just, you know, they did what they thought was the best way to do it. And I think that gave me a sense of confidence. And, you know, when I have an idea, I don't have to worry if it's good or bad. I just have to start it and see where it goes and see if I can be successful with it. So that was a great thing to have, learning from them. And then moving to Maine in the early 80s with my wife, we put down roots here, and I took a lot of different jobs along the way, but always making art, either nights and weekends or whenever I could. So always keeping busy, always exhibiting work. And the work that I have here, the work behind me, is from a new body of work started right after the COVID lockdown in March of last year. And when I started this work, I started experimenting in the studio. I had just finished another body of work, and I didn't know to continue on with that, or do I want to try something new? So this is where I got out a few different materials. There's aerosol spray paint in these. I've never worked with that before, really. There's some polyester film or mylar. I never worked with that very much. So I just started to experiment and try to find a way to use these things that I think are different and also intelligent, hopefully, and appealing. And so I just started making these shapes and forms with poured paint and then spraying patterns over the poured paint and then attaching them and gluing them together in different configurations. So that's what's here at the Portland Art Gallery right now, and I'm very grateful to be here, and thank you to Portland Art Gallery.
And now it's my great honor to introduce June's feature artist, Carlos Gamez de Francisco. Born and raised in Cuba, Carlos knew from a very young age that he wanted to pursue being an artist, and he was very well supported by his family. After moving to Kentucky in 2009, he immersed himself in his art education and career, and in this exhibition we are invited to both view photographs and paintings filled with symbolism, hope, contemporary fashion flair, and a deeper understanding of Carlos's life's journey. Please join me in welcoming to Maine artist Carlos Gamez de Francisco.
Hi, my name is Carlos Gamez de Francisco. I'm from Cuba, and I came to the US 12 years ago when I was 21. And I came from Cuba with only $650. For a Cuban, that is a lot of money. Doctors and engineers, they only make about $30 per month. But when I came to the US, that was nothing. I spent the money the first day. I bought a $600 in art supplies and $50 in a pair of shoes like Forrest Gump shoes, because that was my favorite movie. Then next day I was broke, so I had to find a job doing shipping and receiving. I was working 9 hours a day. I was studying English 2 hours a day, and then I was painting in the evening. And I remember the first time I sent an email to a gallery, they called me and I couldn't answer. So I said, well, I need to learn the language because I came with no connections, no English, and I didn't understand the culture. So I called, after this call, I decided to learn 100 words per day, and I did that for 3 months. And after 3 months, I had my first solo exhibition after an interview with the gallery, and I sold out the show, and then I quit my job next day. So that was 12 years ago, and I've been doing what I love since then. Currently, I'm in Portland, Maine, and having a show here at Portland Art Gallery. And you could see some of my work. There is some photographs, and they are those are one of my recent series that I made in Cuba. I went to photograph the youngest generation, and some the models are all from 18 years old to 25. And the reason why I did it is because when I came from Cuba, we didn't have access to internet or private property, or we didn't have access to cell phones. And I wanted to see the youngest generation, how after getting all this information, how they feel and how they could be different from my generation. I remember when I was a child in Cuba, we couldn't listen to the Beatles or Queen or Led Zeppelin because it was illegal. We couldn't have access to English music. And now the youngest generation, they have access to American movies or music. And so my goal was to know them and take pictures of them in positions of power. They are wearing dresses that look like Renaissance dresses or dresses from the 18th century, but they are made with found objects. And so when I went to their houses, I asked them permission to check everywhere. And I was checking in their closet, and I found like curtains or blankets, sometimes like dolly. And I mixed them and I built the dresses from the found objects. So I really love this series. It's one of my most recent series that I have made. And also I have some paintings at the gallery. In the last year, because of COVID, we have to cover our faces and we are wearing masks. So I decided to cover all the characters' faces in my paintings, and they're wearing sunglasses or flowers, so they're not completely seen. Well, I hope you like my work, and I hope to see you at the gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, Paula, Stu, and Carlos for sharing your remarks, and thank you to all of you for joining us. Our Matterport tour is a few days late because of the holiday week this week, but it is coming, so look out for that. Please stop in and see us at 154 Middle Street here in the Old Port, 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, or visit us online 24 hours a day at www.portlandartgallery.com. Until we connect again, please be safe, but please stay in touch. Thank you.